Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to give you a little video about the books that I'm gifting this year for Christmas. All of these books I'm gifting to younger members of my family, and I just thought that it might be helpful for some of you to see some of the books that I've chosen to give to the younger members of my family, and maybe there'll be something here that you think would be good for somebody in your family. So let's get started. The first book I'd like to talk to you about is one called Andy's Surprise, and this is written by main author Tim Caverly and illustrated by Franklin Manzo Jr. And Tim is a retired park ranger who worked for a long time in the Allagash Wilderness Waterways in northern Maine, and he has been writing stories about the creatures and the folks who live and work and play in the Allagash Wilderness Waterways. And this picture book is so delightful. It's about Andy the moose and his adventures on the river one day and a big surprise that he finds. I just found the pictures and the illustrations in the little story that went with it just to be so much fun. You can see here how colorful and bright this is. Andy makes up a little song as he's hanging out in the river, and it says, "Water on my belly, trout by my toes, wading in the river, water's running off my nose." And he repeats that refrain with some little changes throughout the story, and it's super fun and fun to read. Full disclosure, Tim is a friend of the family, and I will link his website, Allagash Tales, down below so you can find out more about him and his work. The next book I'll be gifting this winter, this Christmas, is Interstellar Cinderella. And I like to look, I have a lot of young female cousins and nieces and nephews, mostly nieces, only one nephew. And I like to gift them stories that empower women and empower girls. And I think this retelling of Cinderella in Space, where Cinderella is a feisty, independent young lady who rescues the prince, is a great pick for one of my little nieces. Another book in the same vein is Ada Twist Scientist. Ada is not like her friends. She's super curious, and her curiosity is always getting her into trouble. But she just likes to know the facts and how things work and things like that. So another great story about a young girl who is determined to learn things for herself, and that sometimes gets her into trouble, but it also just is her personality. So I think that's also another great gift for a young girl. Moving on to some older kids books, I have this middle grade reader, Crossover, by Kwame Alexander. This is a book told in verse about a basketball player, and it mixes elements of hip hop into it. It is the winner of the Newbery Medal and the Coretta Scott King Award. Kwame Alexander is a highly acclaimed author of young adult, middle grade type literature. And I have a niece who is super into basketball, and I think she will very much enjoy this book. And the next book is one I'm gifting to two different young folks in my life. Actually, one young lady is really an adult, but she loves middle grade books. So I am going to gift her with Pax by Sara Pennypacker. And the illustrations in this book are done by John Klassen. And this was a National Book Award long list winner. I read this book in October for the Autumn Readathon. I just love this tale of a young boy and his pet fox who are separated because of a war and have to find each other again. It's just very heartfelt and emotional, and says a lot about what war does to us as a culture, and what it does to the other living creatures in our world without us really thinking about it. So like I said, I'm gifting this twice. I have 2 copies of this book. I liked it so much, I'm giving it to 2 people this Christmas. The next book I'm also giving to 2 different people, and it's one that I read and love earlier this year. Sorry for the glare. Angie Thomas's The Hate You Give, which has gotten lots of praise and acclaim, and I absolutely loved it. I think this is one of my top 10 books of the year. This is a young adult book which follows our main character, sorry, I've forgotten her name, Star, as she witnesses the death of her childhood best friend in a police shooting, and then has to deal with the fallout from that. And it's really the story of how do you reconcile the two parts of your life, because Star goes to school in a private school, and she's one of the very, very few black teenagers at her school, and then she still lives in the inner city where all of her neighborhood is black, and has to deal with, gang violence. And I just found the story to be super authentic, very it felt very real to me, although I have never experienced anything that Star goes through. I just bought it. I bought the whole thing. It felt very real to me. I really cared about Star. I cared about the other members of her family and the folks around her and what was going to happen. And Angie Thomas wrote this book, which is sort of tells the story of the Black Lives Matter movement from the perspective of one young teenage girl. And I just think it's a tremendous book. And so I'm gifting it to not one, but two folks this Christmas. And hopefully they will love it as much as I did. The next book I'm also gifting to two more people, and that is The Worst Class Trip Ever by Dave Barry. And I am gifting this solely on the recommendation of Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventure. She included this one in her recommendations video this year for Christmas gifts for middle grade readers, and she said that this is a very funny book, perfect for reluctant readers. And I have two of those folks on my Christmas list this year. I like Dave Barry's writing for adults, so I'm sure that his writing for children is also good. This follows 8th grader Wyatt Palmer as he goes on his class trip to Washington, D.C. And as they're traveling to D.C., he and his classmates get into a scrape with some shady looking characters on the bus. So that sounds like a fun romp, and hopefully will inspire the two folks that I'm giving that to want to read more after they finish that one. The last thing I have to show you today is a book for my daughter, and it is a cookbook, and it's called The Seasoned Life, Food, Family, Faith, and the Joy of Eating Well. And the author is Ayesha Curry. And the things you need to know about my daughter are that she is a sports nut, and her favorite professional basketball player is Steph Curry, this guy right here, and this is his wife's cookbook. And the other thing that you need to know about my daughter is she's a passionate cook. So this was on her Christmas list, and I picked it up for her, and I think it is a gorgeous cookbook. It has lovely photos to go with the recipes, and it has a lot of really good recipes in here, and I'm hoping that after my daughter gets this for Christmas, she will make some meals for my husband and I think that will be awesome. So that is what I am gifting this year for Christmas for the young people in my life. Hopefully there's something there maybe that interests you, or that you might find to be a good gift for young folks in your life. I hope everybody is doing well, and I will talk to you later.